Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
How was the weekend?
It was fabulous. We actually had nice weather, and we've been getting like I don't know, 80% of the days up until about 2 or 3 days ago, we were getting rain. It was nuts. So it was nice to kind of get some decent, little cool, but some sunshine. So good.
Yeah, they were saying that the country was going through a heat wave, and I'm like, we're even today in the middle of June, it's like 65 degrees maybe outside.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to heat up tomorrow for though about 80 and then 90 the day after. So maybe that's the heat wave. It finally got here.
Nice. Well, we need some of that weather too. We can't have it
Yeah,
all nice
that's
and
right.
cool and proper.
That's right.
So that's cool. So that's great. As you know, we got into the incubator,
Yes.
and that was really exciting. I really have my doubts the way that presentation went off. I was like, that was a shaky presentation, and I was shuffling the deck like 5 minutes before we actually did it, and throwing out like almost duplicate copies of slides. So by the time I got done, it was only 10 slides, but I was like, okay, now what do I say about each one of them? Had I not looked at the script that I'd written for each one of those slides, it would have been a lot easier. I could have just gone, by rote, ding, 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 ding. But I was trying to hit the points and making sure that I was saying the right thing. So the
Well,
script,
and how much time did they give you again?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Yeah. A 3 minute pitch. It's about, I mean, it really is tough. It really is tough. And especially with yours, because I think like we had said, yours is in some ways it's very new. I mean, I'm sure there's a few other people, but to the extent that you guys are trying to aggregate, there's not a lot of people out there yet doing that. And so getting all that in 3 minutes isn't easy.
Really hard, and
Yeah.
it was right. Number one, you had to explain what the heck it was and how we're going to go about conquering the market, what it meant revenue wise, that kind of stuff. And even still, I had a conversation with Boha this morning, 6:30 my time, and we were talking about that. And he was like, "Well, could you please explain to me how the revenues could be better on this per ad than any place else?" I said, "Well, because we're talking directly to the endemics. We're talking to the Spaldings, to the Wilsons, and we're getting them directly involved. So instead of just throwing out a basketball ad to anybody, you're actually talking to somebody who has already said they're interested in basketball. So they're willing to pay a penny a view. And then video ads are more than that. But that's something that wasn't understood very well, and I don't think came across very well on Thursday.
Again, some of that stuff to you because it's very, very basic. Maybe you just gloss over because you're like, I got all this other stuff I got to talk about. And I remember at the beginning, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe more or longer with these guys, we were talking to Hype, and we were, as a board, we were kind of giving them some feedback. And I remember talking about the limit, the 3 minutes, how difficult that is. And because we were looking from an audience, we were saying it's hard to give us really a sense for it.
Yeah.
Forget about how hard it is to pitch it within that. I mean, we need more insight. We have to have a better understanding. So I don't know. I guess when you have as many startups coming to you, you want to give them all time. You have to do that. But yeah, it's been an ongoing issue. So
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that we floated to the top anyway. That was
yeah, yeah.
really good. I really thought we deserved it. As far as the other ones are concerned, I was a little nervous because it was primarily esports, and we were covering sports very well. But we set up the esports portal probably about 2 years ago, but we really didn't do anything with it after the first set of content we put in. And so we had it, but we weren't really proficient at it, so to speak. So going into it, I was thinking this might be, number one, a good opportunity to do that, to pick it up a bit. And secondly, to understand better what they needed. And I think one of the hardest parts of any startup is to find out what the pain points of their target audience is, and then how you're going to go about conquering that pain.
Hmm.
So we spent a lot of time internally about that, about how we go about presenting something that's going to be a benefit and actionable enough that somebody's going to move. And then purely fortuitously, I have this friend who's about 10 years friend. He is one of the smartest people in the world in video and online technology. And he had 5 years ago, he had an algorithm for transcoding that was 3 times faster or better than Netflix. So with 1/3 the bandwidth, we could deliver the same quality as Netflix was showing, which was really fantastic. And so I talked to him a couple months ago, and he goes, I'm doing this new thing with quantum computing and AI, being able to deliver music from one side of the continent to the other within 1/4 of a millisecond.
Wow.
I was like, what? And he said, yeah, we've got this new technology that using quantum computing, it literally guesses what the next segment of the thing is going to be. And if you think about esports, one of the ways you could do that is, okay, well, you've got this controller. You're either going to shoot, turn the other way, or do something else, right? So if the computer sees you doing something, it can guess all 3 or 4 or 5 different ways you're going to go and prepare for it visually. So when you say I'm turning left, it already has that program. So it can sort of.
So it's just preparing to send the data. It's not actually sending the what could be erroneous data.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow.
So that just blew my mind. I'm like, how can it do all that kind of stuff? And he goes, it's so fast that you can't even, there's no room for gaps in data, because if you throw a gap in data, it's looking for, it's like a century. It's looking for like a millisecond that you miss is like a century to the computer that it's missing data for.
I wonder if this is a type of technology they use for traders, for computer trading, to pick up that, because that millisecond, that could be 5, 20, 10, 15, $20 a share for these institutional investors. It could be a lot of money.
That's what I'm thinking. There's so many different uses for it. And right now they only have the music segment covered. Like that's where they're going for with this quantum computing. And, they're really, they're just starting to do quantum computers. That's like, so, Star Wars. And here we are like in the 12th century. And so we've got to really wait for them to actually have it so that they can do the AI to it and then work it into our thing. But we'll be the test bed for it. So the opportunity with a $5 million seed, and really about half of that money allocated already, just to get to cash flow positive, 18 months, 24 months, that's going to be about $2.5 million. And it could be a little bit more because we're getting some other high-powered people who want to work with us. So we'll still have some money left for licensing if we get into the big leagues, or this video technology. And if we'll have to obviously do an investment analysis, see what the ROI would be. But it might be that could be the thing that we do that makes us a $20 billion company. I have no idea what's going to happen when they get to viability. And by being a test bed, we'll know before anybody.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting.
Well, what's exciting is the visual, the camera, the video, that space. And then the other one, which you mentioned, it's been exciting for anybody involved in computer, is the speed and the bandwidth, what they're doing with that. Because that opens up so many things then, right? Once you've got the speed you need, or once you've got that kind of bandwidth, it allows you to create all kind of things and do all kind of things that we can't do now.
Yeah.
So
And we have a team meeting every 11 o'clock every Monday, and we didn't touch that. We were talking about the constituent groups that we were going to go after, breaking out our team, which is now 13 or 14 deep. One of them seems to be a laggard in connecting, so I don't know if she's going to be involved. But the other ones are so already tuned up. Like we were talking in the weeds and then higher level, and there were all of them in both, which was really cool. I was really psyched about that. We have 5 people who are tech / video guys. So
Yeah. Okay.
that makes that's really obviously very critical. And we're also talking about using the outside developers and how that was going to work out. So it was
Well,
really
and because for you, Greg, you were talking about um, a lot of user content, user generated content. How certain people will be kind of overseeing certain sectors of your right
yeah.
and
That was
providing
concerning to you, I think.
yeah,
How we were going to do that.
yeah, and the whole providing the content and the videos. I mean, it's a main aspect of it. So anything that you guys can do to elevate your capabilities in that space, it's going to probably overpay for you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be great returns, I'd imagine.
Well, so our video guy, the real video guy, Bill, he did a big survey of those kind of companies. Like there's one company called JW Player, and most of the private content that you see on video is being pumped through a JW Player because it's basically free. It's very cheap, and it allows you to set up your system the way you want it to. And so a lot of people are using it. Bill came up with three other alternatives. And the bad thing about JW is that they force you to use their database as opposed to using one of your own and having more control over that kind of stuff. And also being able to manipulate the page a little bit better. So he found three or four others that were really good. And so this guy, he works for NBC Sports and NBC right now. So he's already on top of the game. And so he now is going, well, there's other guys, not JW, that probably would be better as long as we can program to that system. One of them is called Plex, Plex.
Plex.
Plex. Yeah, I said, what? But one of our people, Kelly, she says, yeah, we use it all the time to share videos between each other. So she said it also has the capability of streaming broadcast content and movies and that kind of stuff. And so I just checked it out. We can actually start a UB Sports channel on Plex. And I don't know how much it's going to cost, but you can do that with what the technology they have already. And I'm thinking if we can get a player out of them that can use Plex, that is a nice player, that works properly, that isn't hindered by speed or anything like that, but also is resident on my Vizio TV and Sony TVs and Samsung TVs already. That's like 90% of the game is to get us in front of people. If I can say just go to Plex /UB Sports and they're in our system.
On a TV, you're saying, if they can carry it over the TV lines.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that. Yeah, of course. I got to tell you, I have so many issues with our video. You might want to think about coming out with TVs because these cables, they're not.
Oh.
I mean, I know there's a lot of what do they call them? Going in the fiber, but it's just the other night, and I don't know if it was my TV, my internet, my carrier, or because it's a Roku built-in. But what you're talking about is kind of I mean, I love the Roku built-in concept. There's still some things they got to work out, but it to your point, it opens up so many more viewing options, but by having it built in like that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah. So you have to spend. It's like Javi, my CEO. He keeps saying most of my job is saying no every day. So many things come up, and you would love to chase them all, or other people are giving you ideas, and they're all good ideas. They sound attractive, but man, you got to stay focused too, right? And but sometimes, what comes up is a game changer, and then you do have to listen.
Yeah, well, I think that this is a painless thing. I'll find out more, but if we need a player anyway, and we're
if it's a plug and play type of thing too, where someone else is bringing it to you, it's not like you're redirecting your tech guys.
Yeah, we have to reinvent the wheel. I really don't want to do that. And if they have something that is an alternative to JW Player, which we'd have to finagle with anyway,
right.
There's more flexibility, and also then sits on top of our TVs. I think that's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
So I could just imagine, like, we could say, UB Sport, go to your apps and hit UB Sports, and You can watch the live squash match that's going on from the Tournament of Champions or something. I mean, that would be incredible. And especially since there is such a great diversity of sports, you could do like it'll be like the wide world of sports of the 21st century.
Yeah, because the TV in that case the TV would work more like a computer than a TV, though, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't. It's not like you have to pay network rights and all of the rights to whomever's carrying it. It's going to be more a computer feed to the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be cheap. I mean, so far, I'm speaking out of school because we just worked it out today. But I'm going to talk to them and see if it might be the cheapest of all solutions ever for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the NBC guy would be able to help because I just know that anything that goes, it depends on if it's going through, whomever it's going through, however it's being carried by whomever it's being carried, that's where there's going to be a big expense. Right. Now, but at the same time, it's just like, now we can call people for free, right?
Yeah.
So much for the telephone companies. And that same evolution will happen in TV. It already is in certain things.
Right.
But to your point, if you can, because if your viewing ship becomes unlimited, basically, very, very inexpensive, because even someone's got to come. You got to make money off. You got to figure out how you're going to monetize it, right?
Right.
Someone pays. But it's just going to open up an unbelievable. Well, like we said the first time we were talking about the diversity. I mean, and then what you could actually probably do is that niche market we were talking there. You could probably make some money off them. You could
exactly.
Actually, yeah.
I would use
You'll be the only game in town.
Yeah. And then we just have subscriptions to the specific areas on UB Sports that people want to use. And
I think the other business is they have these already, probably an app or a subscriber aggregator, because everyone, think about it, right? You have probably now 10, 20 different apps. You've got, you'll probably have 10 or 20 different channel apps. It's just going to be unbelievable. It's going to be like app management.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just, right now it's kind of it's getting kind of overwhelming in how many different, how apps are. It's just nuts. But
I just have Hulu and Netflix and Prime TV, Prime Video.
Those are three I have. Yeah.
Then I have YouTube that also has an app on my Vizio, so I could watch everything on YouTube on my big TV. It's limitless now. I don't have enough time to watch all the stuff that I want to watch.
Well, yeah, we just cut down. We went to the cheapest Comcast cable bill. We didn't need any of the other shit because I got the Roku.
Yeah.
And I got the three that you said, Prime, and I got the same ones, and that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
They have to get better though at the interface and the controls and the the remotes and all of that, because there are certain things you can't do, and that'll come in time.
Then you need a central app or a central controller so that it says what you have. Like you have a list of everything that's on right now and all the stuff that fits within your criteria. You said I'm interested in football, baseball, squash, golf, and it says this is what's on those four things now, and this is what's you can queue up on demand. So and then that way it'll be a lot easier. Right now it's crazy. It's like you're looking at the whole world, the whole universe in one look, and you're going to miss everything.
The whole, and when you get with the networks though, or the carriers and networks or the cable companies and all that, they're going to carry the content. I know when I used to work with, I didn't work. We invested in them when I was installing it into Shot Tracker. I don't know if you heard of Shot Tracker.
Right. Sure.
Basketball. So we had a small share in them when I was there, but that's how I kind of got us into technology. And they were evolving their product from not just tech in the ball, but then possibly augmenting it with cameras. And if so, how do you change the viewing experience? And then you talk to the networks, Fox Regional or Fox Sports, and when that just becomes a completely different area. Then it's just because I mean, they know there's only so many of them, and so they know they can charge whatever they, whatever they want, just about for you getting your technology onto their system, even though your technology is going to help them. It's
Yeah.
going to make their viewership much more attractive. But I know that's a you got to be ready for it. If you jump into that and you're not completely ready for it, you get swallowed up. It just
Right.
doesn't work. Yeah.
Right. So what I'm thinking is right now, just use them as a white label provider of the player. And we can always, a year down the road say, hey, let's get our, UB Sports channel on Plex. So anybody's on Plex to see it.
Yeah.
It'd be great, but it's nothing that's going to change our model right now. I'd rather keep our model as straightforward and direct as possible and attack the constituent groups that we know we need to attack. And
Yeah.
the conversation today was fantastic because that was actually when we dug into the weeds. That was one of the things where we went. But before that, we were talking about how we're going to split into working groups within the team. And okay, we have different constituent groups. We have the players, the young players, and then the old players. And then we have the parents of the players. Then we have the coaches and the trainers. So those are really our 5 constituent groups. And the old player, new player, they sort of like meld together because they sort of need the same thing, keep up with rules and watch videos and learn how to play better. And then you have the parents, and their problem is that they don't know about the sports. And they have to learn about the sports to teach the kids how to play. And you also have that other layer of sports psychology, finding a team to play around you, and all that kind of stuff that the parents specifically would get involved with. So they have specific needs. So we're going through this with the team, and I'm saying, okay, who's going to be on this team? Who's going to be on this team and this team? And it just either I'm a lot smarter than I think I am, or it's just serendipity. But it seemed that there were a great overlap of 3 or 4 people in each one of these groups that made sense to fit in each one of these constituent categories. And then we said, okay, who knows NBA? We had 3 people say they know people in the NBA. Who knows people in the NHL? We know, 2 people raise their hands. And it turned out that we have overlaps in a bunch of that stuff too. So we can go at any organization from a different level, from different places.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting. USTA, we had myself and Kelly, both know people who are in there. Kelly is turning out to be a fantastic resource. She has been working in sports for 20 years. She's been in big companies. And when she wasn't with the big companies, she was marketing to them and selling to them. So she's got fantastic connections, and she's really one of those team players who's like, like the puppy who wants to run away off the leash, and like she knows that she's got to be on the leash though, and she's like, just say, let's go here, let's go push.
Yeah.
You need someone like that with that kind of attitude. And
are you looking at, Greg? Are you looking at doing? You mentioned coaches, because that's probably the most dissimilar channel than all the parents and kid, young and old, and all that, because they're coming at it from a completely different perspective, which brings a whole another host of requirements and needs and everything that's going to be a bit. So are you looking at doing it from a digital coaching perspective too, or you have something else in mind relative to coaches?
Okay, so if you recall in the revenue sources, 20% of it is from subscriptions.
Yeah.
Most of the big coaches already have a subscription set up so that they're already charging $20 to $200 in a month to have your kid coached by this great coach. Our goal is not to try to compete with them, but to have them on the system and get 20%, 30% of the revenue that a new kid that we bring into them generates.
Okay.
So that being said, one of the level B, right now it's level A, level B is going to start talking about a recruiting system. So it'll be a recruiting app that, as we talk to the top coaches and the top Olympic athletes and the pro coaches, is to say, okay, what are the stats that this sport needs and this position in this sport needs to have? Pitching's easy. If you're a pitcher, you have the ERA, you have innings pitch, you have all the stuff that goes along with that, and how fast your fastball is. And I don't know if there's a stat for how good your curveball is or whatever, but those kind of things are very sport specific. but they're provable. And to have a stat, as we talk to these top coaches, is to tell us what stats they look at and that are really critical and mission critical.
Yeah.
So if I can get a coach to say, I need a guy who can pitch a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and you can verify that with a radar gun, we could set up a system where the parent, the kid, and the catcher are there on the baseball diamond, and the parent or the coach has a radar gun. The kid holds up his ID. It says, John Smith, and you show the radar gun. It says 0, and the kid pitches, and the radar gun. You hold up to the radar gun up to the camera, and it says 95 miles an hour. You now have proven that you can do that. Part of the community management that you and I were talking about on the safety side can also verify that stat. And, look at the video and say, okay, that's a stat that's provable and has been proven. So we give them a little yellow badge that says UB verified. And that goes next to that stat. So a kid can build in their player profile a bunch of stats that the system will ask for.
So you're not, okay, well, I kind of like, because what I was going to say when you started saying, yeah, we're talking about you doing that, was I thought you were saying you were going to get into this, one of your capabilities would be the ability to track and accumulate all of these stats by all of these, and I was like, man, that's a whole nother ballgame. But what you're saying is, no, we're going to have them tell us they can prove it and provide it, and then we'll confirm it, and then we'll just simply tag it. So
right. And
it's a better way to do it, yeah.
We can also keep a historical record. If somebody says I'm pitching the 85-mile-an-hour fastball and they're a freshman and they're improving, they keep putting in their stats and we verify it, that becomes a graph.
Right.
And that's really impressive. And if you can show a coach that he went 85, 89, 92, 94, 95, that really validates everything that you want to see. And, that coach from UCLA is going to call up a kid in New York and tell him to come down.
Yeah, he's going to get him on the list at the very least. Okay, interesting. Yeah. So your team sounds like they're fired up.
We are so psyched, man. We got off the call where we're all like, we almost didn't want to hang up. We're like, what else can we talk about? We're like, okay, that's good for now.
So now, what are the next steps? I don't have my stuff in front of me, but what are the next steps for you guys?
Funding. We're working on the $5 million seed. We have one guy who says he wants to take the full $5 million, but he doesn't have it yet. So he just introduced us to a couple other investors who are going to come in with $250,000 and some other money. And after $250,000, we're basically going. We're off.
Yeah.
Because we do know we have other money coming, and so the 250 will get us literally down the road 2 or 3 months, and so that's going to include the development. So as soon as the day that money hits, we go to the developers because we know who they're going to be. And we're just going to sit down with them. I'm going to fly to California, sit down with them, and take our head of tech, John, or he'll do it by Zoom or whatever's more convenient for him, and just sit down and go through like, okay, this is what this page does. This is what this page does. This is how basically it's re-explaining what the site does. Because we spent 2 years working out the workflow on our site. I'm really happy with the way it works, especially the back office. That's something you can never get into in 3 minutes or even a 10 or 15-minute demo because it's very, very deep and it covers all the different constituents. But,
well, and where do you stand on, or where are you with? Because you've got this enormous the user group. You're I'm not sure what you're not really employed. I mean, what do you call them? How do you refer to them as your
team?
Your network?
They're my team.
Your team, okay, but they're not on the payroll, right? I mean, they have certain, right? So but you would have an enormous amount of them to be able to generate all of the different content for all the different sports, all the different regions, right?
Okay, so we have basically, as we discussed, you and I started, the lowest part of the in-house team are the community watchers, the people who are going to be doing the outreach to the community and then watching what stuff comes in from the community, like what kind of videos come in, what kind of content comes in. They'll be doing that. But above them, you have basically all the people we have now, the 14 people ready to go. we have them, and that's going to be broken down to about 6 different groups over time. And one person we're missing right now is an ad revenue guy, someone who knows everybody, and he's got a black book in sports, basically, who can just open it and go, I'm going to call Adidas. This is my guy over at Adidas. And that's going to be critical. So,
I mean, how many do you think you're going to need on the outside, so to speak, to keep the content robust, flowing, updated, accurate?
Okay, so the other part of that is the Olympic team athletes and the pro athletes. There's going to be one for each one of the sports. We're paying them $20 an hour for about 5 hours a week at most. So it's not that much money. And
no, it's not. And it's one athlete per sport, so it's not a huge amount. I mean, it's
about 100 sports, and it'll cost about $20,000 a month. Once we're 100.
So you've got 100 people to call it 100, and all in, you're at about 125, 130 people in the team on the team network.
Yeah, that's the network. The team is the core.
Yeah.
And then the rest is the network.
Yeah.
So that's really reasonable. I mean, I think
it is. It's doable.
Yeah, it is. And then there will be, there'll be duplicates when it comes to ad revenue or reaching out for ad sales, of course, because that's regional. And then reaching out to the leagues and the schools. As we get bigger and bigger, we'll have someone's covering, let's say 5 states, we'll be down to like a half a state at the end. But that's 4 years down, 5 years down the road when we're really cash flow positive and working well.
Yeah. And at that point, you'll be looking at other things.
Exactly. I'll be making music, and you be educating and that kind of stuff. But that's what came up today was the guy who is our head of tech. He goes, "What about marching bands?" And we all looked at each other and be like, "Why not?" It's the same thing. It's in school, and there's a component that's physical, walking around and banging a drum. But they're also connected with the sports programs. And they're about the lowest hanging fruit you can think of.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's all integrated into the games, or at least football, right? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, football, basketball, that's about it, right? So.
Yeah, there's not marching bands much in basketball, is there?
Well, they're a band on the sideline. They're not marching.
Oh, yeah. They're not marching bands. They're just bands.
Yeah. But they're the same guys. They're the same people who do it.
But you could bring them newfound glory and recognition.
Yeah, well, that would be nice.
That's for sure.
I think that'd be smart. But as one of my mentors a couple years ago was saying, UB isn't just UB Sports. And
no, it's not, because you're right. You can music, like you said. The concept can transfer into a lot of different verticals. There's no way. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and the idea is obviously that's 3 years down the road. I'm concentrating on what we're doing right now, and I think we have a really straightforward, logical progression from where we are now to where we're going to be when we launch 3 months from now, and where we can be 6 months from now. I told the people today, I want to know what you're doing by the end of this week. What are your goals? And 2 weeks, 3 weeks out. That's what I really care about, because we have roughly 13 weeks before we launch the site and the apps. So we need to have every week, we need to be hitting on the cylinders.
Yeah. Are you, Greg, putting together, contingency plans though? Because like all of us, everybody is trying to figure out what's going to, with the coronavirus, is there going to be a second, resurgence, all of that. So you guys at least putting a framework of a contingency around, or will it not necessarily affect exactly what you'll do at this point?
We were just talking about that. Now the challenge is, well, the first part is that the way we're going to roll this out is seasonally, and that's one of the great things about sports, is that there's a new 5 or 10 sports coming out every couple months, right? So if we miss the late summer sports, there's the early fall sports right around the corner. And the further on we go into COVID, the less of a difference it's going to make. Already they're talking the youth leagues. I can't believe this, but the youth leagues are talking about starting baseball and soccer even, and that's during the summer. So they're, that's a contingency on the other side. They're starting early, and we needed to start in September.
Yeah.
We're not going to be ready.
Well, yeah, and the good news is that leagues are talking about even abridged, even though they're abridged schedules, they're still talking about starting the seasons up. And I don't think that your um, technology or your program is all that dependent on there being fans in the seats. I mean,
No, not at all.
you're reporting on the action itself. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, so as long as there's not some kind of a resurgence that's going to start canceling seasons left and right,
Yeah.
then you guys should be in good shape, which is much better than a lot of fan engagement apps and all these, all those guys. They're somewhat dependent on people filling the seats, and
Yeah.
so that's good
I'm
to
feeling
hear.
pretty smart right now, actually. You know, we
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of great feedback. Like, this is exactly the right thing at the right time. And
Well, I'll tell you, we have one of our businesses is NBN 23, and that's a basketball app for leagues and such, and stat tracking and so forth.
uh
And we're looking at it the same way as this should help us because people are going to want to follow now more closely their favorite team from their
yeah,
home.
yeah.
Yeah, no, there's ways of having it benefit you. That's for sure.
And also what we did is we started a portal on the site called COVID Crazy, and it's basically about working out at home. It's like, I'm going crazy in here. I got to do something.
Yeah,
And so it's home yoga, it's home practice, it's home drills with certain
yeah,
things.
yeah,
And how do you practice in the backyard instead of on the soccer field?
yeah.
So that's something that we're working on. We just started putting things into there, so it's starting to look pretty smart. We've got 20 yoga videos in there and other stuff that we're starting to work on.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. And we were doing the same for our sport. Our swimming was around, because like everyone's doing the online fitness, right? It's easy to do that, but for a swimmer, it's a little more difficult.
yeah,
So there are exercises you can do for swimming.
sure.
Typically what swimmers do is swim to get better, but during this period, um, we resorted to some of that as well. You got to find someone with some name marquee, some name recognition. Um, but yeah, I mean until the pools open up, that's what you got to do. So
Yeah.
yeah. So what's your next step then with height?
That was a great question. There's a meeting tomorrow at 9:30. There's a call with all the constituents.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that's going to be a regular thing. I mean, we're 1 day old. We have no idea what to expect as far as
Okay.
steps. So so far I know that tomorrow at 9:30 we're on.
Okay.
And then I think there's going to be a mentor or two mentors chosen out of those 20 or so that were there. I'd love if you continue to be a mentor because obviously you and I are on the same page on a lot of things.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And I think you'll keep me in check too because I'm going to be, I'm trying to keep myself in check too because there are so many different things that we could be covering, and I'm really trying to narrow it down. And
Yeah.
one of our teammates, Leslie, she's like thinking, "Oh, we got to stay with, there's too much to do. Maybe we should start with just the kids." Like, I can tell you what, this is what we're going to do. Instead of worrying about just the kids or just this layer or whatever, well, how about this? How about we take this season by season and cover, early summer, late summer. And she's
That's
like,
probably smarter.
she's a bit of the crazy dog that wants to run all over the place and tear the stuffing out of the cushion.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep her under control. But I think she got it. I think she really understood that we're going to try to really focus as we go by seasons.
Yeah. And one of the biggest learnings I think people get out of it, but you got to go through it to really feel it. At least when going from corporate world to the startup world is kind of sweating the assets that you have too. Because the other thing that I know you get daily is probably we need more resources, we need more of this, we need more of that. Yes, you do, but not yet. Not yet. And so you got to get more creative, and you got to sweat the asset that you really have. Really, just suck the juice out of it because you're not going to be able to. It's not like we're Procter and Gamble, right? You can't just pull in. You got to make it work, and you can. That's the thing. People think they're at their end of that road. They're not. There's still more in there. That's where the creativity comes in. But yeah, you always want those people that are maybe running too fast the wrong way, but at least they're running. And so,
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If she wants to like get, feels like she's too reined in, well, bye-bye.
yeah,
We have such great people right now, and people who haven't even been able to show up. I have the guy who's one of the guys who started ESPN, uh, David. He's got pancreatitis. And he just got it like 3 months ago, and he's like, I've been in the hospital a month. And I'm like, geez, Dave, sorry. And he goes, I think I'm going to be okay, but I can't really stress myself on another end right now. I'm concentrating on getting better. So, unfortunately, he's been knocking, 100% there, but he's staying in touch. He's watching. We're putting the Zoom. We're doing Zoom videos for this thing. We're putting those up on the UB staff portal. So if anyone wants to see last week's Zoom meeting, they can watch. I'm also keeping track of the conversations I have with people like you, people who are mentors and
yeah,
partners, so that they can see where the outside world is looking at us and what they're thinking, what they're
yeah,
at. And I
yeah,
think that that helps them stay focused and understand what we're doing and why we're doing it.
yeah. Well, I think, and when I mentioned this to you the first time, I think you've got a good staff or good support structure around your system. You got good people, look like they're good, smart, experienced people that can provide you with the very good, very good advice that you need at the time. So, and that's a big part of it. I mean, I'm sure you look around every day going, God, I'm glad I got these people.
I am so blessed. I mean, I can't believe it.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough, and then the whole COVID thing comes, and but hopefully we're turning a corner. We just don't want another wave, and if we get a wave, at least maybe we'll be better off. We'll be better prepared for it. Put it that way, we'll handle it better.
Well, I want to see what happens after all these stupid rioters were causing havoc.
Yeah, that's the protests and the rioters. And now well, I don't know if Biden's going to do it, but if Trump's going to go to all of these conventions and stuff, start up those, bringing any mechanism that brings people back together, big groups, it's crazy. And I do think you're right. I do think we're going to, maybe 2-3 weeks, we're going to start seeing, they'll have evidence that from the protesters and such that there's more new cases.
Well, what we're going to hear? We're going to hear more cases, but not as many deaths, because people are really learning how to mitigate it and manage to it. I mean, you keep on hearing the cases are going up, more cases, but the deaths, if you look at the CDC charts, the deaths aren't going up. As the cases are going up, and
Yeah, and that's why they keep saying we got to look at the hospital bed load, because
exactly.
The only concern we have in that regard is the rural areas. The rural areas don't have the beds. They got a couple,
Yeah.
And if they get if they start having some flare-ups, it's going to be tough to manage that. And that's where you might see deaths. But unfortunately, I guess the numbers will be small just because they're starting off with small numbers. But
right.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know,
well, we also have a lot of extra respirators we can send around to the different, hospitals when they need it.
Yeah, and some of them even work. So,
this is such a weird, screwed up country, man. I tell you.
It is. I'll tell you that. But we get through this shit. There ain't nothing that can stop us. So
we can do anything.
Yeah, my God.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, it's going to look like that. We culled the herd a little bit. I hate to say it like that, but we saw a disease go through, wipe out segments of the population, and sadly, I mean, you got to look at it. What Jim Patton, one of our guys, his dad died, or mom died from COVID. So it touched home. But on the other hand, the people who are dying are the sick and the infirm and the old. And the young kids seem to be getting away with it no problem. So they're saying the reason why they don't want to start or might not want to start school in September isn't because the kids, it's because the teachers are 50, 60, 70.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you got to think of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't conquered it, but it's sure getting, it feels like it's manageable.
Yes, and they're saying sometime early next year we should have a vaccine. So that changes everything too.
Right. And then what's interesting is that if you look at the mortality rates between COVID and the flu, it's roughly the same. It really is just another flu-like thing. So you're right. We'll probably
Yeah,
have
but
to,
we don't, other than we don't have the vaccine for the COVID. So,
right. So once we
it's,
have that,
right. Once you have that, it'll just be like your COVID shot and a flu shot. It will be, yeah.
then all you have is the anti-vaxxers who don't want to get their kids.
Well, well, yeah, what are you going to do?
Sorry, dude.
just stay away from my kids.
Yeah, right.
No, it's crazy. It is crazy. But
It
so,
is.
how many do you guys have? You're an off. You have an office, or do you all work from home? Or
We have, it's a great question. Right now, one of our staff, Al Sontag, he is an ex-MLB pitcher. And he runs a sports center in Port Washington, which is probably about 15 miles outside of New York City. If you're in Connecticut and you go over the Throgs Neck Bridge, if you know anything about New York, it's about another 15, 20 minutes out off the bridge. So
okay.
it's more central than having something in the city. You have something right in New York City, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so I'm thinking that we'll probably use them for like 2 or 3 days a week, and the rest of the time everybody work remotely. But I'm going to be traveling. I'm looking at myself going to California, to Colorado Springs for all the USOC people, and there about 5 of the other governing bodies aren't there in that complex. They're St. Louis, Florida,
Yeah.
South. So I'm preparing to travel all over the place. And the person who's in charge of the big schools, obviously he's going to be traveling all over the place. The person who's in charge of the high schools is going to be starting off locally, but then probably getting people under her, taking care of high schools. Same thing with the basketball. I see our star with the basketball is going to be talking to the big NCAA colleges and then taking it from there. And they'll start building networks around them who are working under them, hitting more and more high schools and colleges in those venues. So I think they're going to be running around. So I don't think even if we had a 5-day-a-week place, it would be.
Well, and that's what I was saying, because pre-COVID, I would imagine there were some startups saying, okay, we're getting to a point now where maybe an office would be useful.
Yeah.
But and now they're saying, we don't have to worry about it for a couple of years probably, because we were forced to make it work this way. We're learning, and our guys, in Valencia, Spain, we got an office, but even though Spain's back open, we're still working from home, and we'll probably continue to have everybody work from home for September, maybe later. I mean,
Do we really have a reason? There's you and I are talking just like you were sitting here at my desk.
Yeah, no, as long as everybody has, and being tech companies you do, as long as everybody has the right technology and knows how to use them, and can be self-supervised, and so and that's why I think the whole office situation could change in time, the vacancies and so forth, because some companies are going to say, hey, I don't need 22 satellite offices.
I know.
Work from home. We're going to save $4 million a year, okay?
Yeah, and then like WeWork, what's WeWork going to do? I mean,
I know it's
another challenge.
Yeah, they're converting. I'm seeing a lot of stuff. They're converting the way they're set up now. They're constructing them, to be pro social distance, which is smart, but just the sheer numbers are just not going to need as much as they have.
Yeah, everybody's going to be home on Zoom.
Yeah.
Now Zoom's making a lot of money.
It's going to be we work from home. That's going to be the problem. What were they called before we worked? I can't remember what they were called. Something else.
Yeah, there was. It wasn't as catchy a name, obviously, but yeah, I forget what it was.
I was trying to think of it the other day, but so we'll see what happens. But well, I enjoy connecting and just getting caught up and talking about what's going on and how things are going, and if there's anything I can do to help. So you drive the bus in terms of Greg, how you'd like the relationship to continue. If you do, if not, there's no hard feelings. I get it. You can't. You don't have the time to do everything with everybody. So. But let me know how you want. I'm here. You've got my number. You got my contact information. I'd love to keep talking to you. You let me know how I can provide value, or how I can provide value, and then we'll just we'll go forward.
I absolutely want you involved. One is, of course, we're still looking to fill up the $5 million. So if you know of anyone who might want to invest, I don't know if I've sent you the investment documents. You have most of them anyway. They came with the package. But I have
Yeah,
one here.
some of the, just so you know, I had trouble at first getting yours to download. The other one did download, and today, this morning, one did not download. So if you want to send stuff to me direct, just as a precaution, that might help.
I'll send you the intro email that I send out to people who are interested in investing
Okay.
and people who are connectors. I have,
Yeah.
there's some things that happened recently that I sort of forgot about. I forgot why I got in business actually. And, one of the reasons was I really knew that people felt like they're working out solo all the time. I might be one of the top 20 people playing squash in my age group, but I feel like I'm working out alone. I'm cycling alone. I'm running alone. I'm practicing on the court alone, and it feels like I'm alone, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I forgot that's one of the reasons is I wanted to bring all of us who are working out regularly back into a community where they felt like they have support. And one of the other smart people that I know, I have a couple people who I think are really the smartest people on the planet. And one of them who is the president of CAI, which is the Walton family's investment arm.
Okay.
Centers for Innovation. And she's a freaking brilliant, Rosemary Truman. And literally, turn off the lights, she glows. And she said, you know what this is? And she started explaining what I just told you. And I was like, oh yeah, that's why I started this whole thing. It's because I really wanted us to have a community while we're working out individually. And so she brought that back into focus, and I really appreciated her for doing that. But you'll see when you see the intro email, it explains those things that I had forgot that got lost in the weeds as I was digging into the weeds. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good intro, and the documents we have are very good. I don't know if you looked at the video that we have on YouTube, the intro video.
No, not yet. No. I'll do that when we hang up.
Yeah, it's already dated. I'll send you as soon as we get off the phone. 10 minutes later, I'll have the thing out to you, and you'll see a link there for the YouTube video. And also, we have a Dropbox location where we keep all the most current files, but I have to update that too. But right now I've been herding cats. I've been actually. I took a day of the weekend off. Saturday I took off. Sunday I got back to work and we had an investor meeting. So we met out here in the Hamptons, and it was this guy was raising the $5 million as much as he can, and one of his investors wants to invest in us. So it was 1 hour of lunch meeting, and the other 2 hours was driving around the Hamptons, showing them around. This is Southampton, this is East Hampton, this is the water. So it was really fun. But this lady got done. She owns lots of properties, and she's living off the rent. And we got done, and the lady says, "You are such a nice man." So she.
Hey, it's New York. You don't hear that much.
I know. I'm probably the nicest guy in all of New York, but that doesn't mean anything. So, but it was good. It was, and that's what I did yesterday. So, for me, it's like 24/7. I'm just like doing it, and my people are now digging in where they want to just go balls to the wall.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I definitely want you involved in any way you want to be involved. We have our team meetings 11 o'clock every Monday. I'd love you involved with that. I'll keep sending you I'll start sending you the intros to them and the agendas and then the recaps.
Okay. That'd be good.
And that's it. And I'll keep tagging you for questions because there's going to be so many things. But I need to understand what you do more.
Yeah, so I work for a company called NBN, and we've started out with 2, but now we have 3 divisions. So NBN stands for Nothing But Net. We were, at the beginning, we were a basketball company. So tracking data, tracking players, and then that morphed into, and that was even after we got the validation. We were one of the few companies at the NBA actually validated to be used in their practices, our technology. But that morphed into what we call like a digital scorecard, where now, I mentioned before about the app, we've got 300,000 teams, or just an ungodly amount of basketball league tracking games, members, if you will, leagues, teams. Their leagues are bigger over in Europe. Teams are bigger here, but we have an enormous network. And what we're doing is we're leveraging the app and the analytics of these leagues and teams around the world with another tool that we have called a digital scorecard. And that's basically, if you think of any game, right, other than maybe the NBA professional, but any game or league, it's still the pen in the scorebook, right, taking down the stats and all of that. But we've digitized that, so you get a portal or a tablet, and you can, it takes a little bit of training, but it's very easy. And all of a sudden, instead of handwriting stuff, you've digitized all this. And once you've got all that information digitized, you can do an enormous amount of things with it.
Right.
And that's what's driving our data, our accumulation of data and all of our stats and everything. So that's kind of what we haven't pursued the tracking of NBA players because, quite frankly, where do you go with that? I mean, it's not going to get you rich. There's only 32 teams. There's not much to do with it. And there's other bigger players that are buying their way into that space and so forth. So the data is very valuable because of the way it works and its efficiency and effectiveness. But the bigger picture gets a little bit more cloudy about commercialization and stuff. So we're pushing the app. And then the other silo we have is called Nagy Smart Pool. And what we came out with is a system where we can go into a aquatic facility, a pool, and we can wire up a Bluetooth system. It's a wearable, but it's Bluetooth supported. So we just put anchors in the ceiling around the pool, create a geofence and so forth. And from that, we put up a 70-inch TV screen at one end of the pool. And you can see in real time, swimmers can see their length swam, time, speed, pace, all these different things that you really can't now. Swimmers don't have that. I keep hearing stories about where, they take the penny from one end and they put it on this side of the lane every time they do their length to track the count and all this. Because every day they jump in the pool and say, I'm going to do 50 lengths or I'm going to do 100 lengths. Then they got to count on it, and it never works. So, but we've actually elevated that to a much more sophisticated system now, to where there's also an anti-drowning system in it, using the same technology, the same infrastructure, the same wearable tag, and all of that. And that's doing very well. We're just now launching it. We actually relaunched it, I should say, because with this COVID, we did a little bit of a pivot too, and we started looking at the social distancing and everything, because again, it's all predicated on our same technology and our sensors and the infrastructure. So for us, it was a very easy way to kind of leverage the synergies that technology gave us. So we started building in two things. We started making the system contactless, so they can, going into a subscription model, so they can buy their own tag, walk into the gym, squeeze it, turn it on, walk and leave, and they don't talk to anybody, do anything. And then once they get all that data, it's all loaded up to the app and so forth, and that's a subscription model. And then the other thing that we did is we built in social distancing recognition or notifiers. So their tag will flash if they're too close. And then that's kind of taken us to the third silo or vertical, where we've now got what we call social distancing. And that's to go to organizations, any building, any workspace, and to say, you could be making your environment a smart environment very easily, and it could do, in addition to social distancing management, it can obviously do that. It can do so many more other things for your facility, for your building, your smart, if you were to make it a smart environment. And again, that's all the same Bluetooth technology. So we've been able to kind of leverage and stay and not really deviate much from what we're doing. We're working with the YMCAs, we're working with a number of pools in Spain that are owned by municipalities and the local government. And so now those two, the basketball and the nagging, we've been doing for a couple of years. The new one is the social distancing, which we're now just starting to kind of talk to people about it and so forth. We're at the middle of beta testing it. So those are the three pillars. I'm involved in all of them. and I'm working, as a consultant contractor, but kind of a pretty solid line, contractor, because I knew these guys from Spalding. I brought them into Spalding
Oh,
when I ran Spalding, their basketball business. And so when I left Spalding and they knew that I was back in Chicago, they said, hey, we're thinking about bringing Nagy to the U.S. We want to put Nagy in Chicago as a headquarter. Would you mind being kind of our pseudo, GM for the U.S. and maybe, some other things and so forth. So I said, yeah, sure. So I've been doing that ever since, and I've been enjoying it. But it's, sometimes it's a full-time job, sometimes it's not.
yeah.
You know how it goes. So that's where I'm at right now.
Were you like planning on retiring and all of a sudden something else came along, or did it?
Well, it's no, I planned on, and the verdict's still out, I guess, who knows, but I planned on, I thought the next step would be when I initially left to come back to Chicago, because I was commuting all the time to Bowling Green. I figured I'd probably do another corporate thing.
Right.
But the reason why I pulled NBN 23 into Spalding, or at least, when they came in, I wanted to work with them, is because I knew that sports in general were the sports technology was that was the next horizon. And Spalding wasn't into it. So a year after working with NBN, it's when we invested in Shot Tracker. I got the company to invest in Shot Tracker because Spalding's owned by Fruit of the Loom, which is a Warren Buffett company. So
Really?
we invested in them, and then we started to build our own technology group, so we could, we had to learn a little bit. We had to kind of have a little bit of our own intelligence on things and capabilities. We couldn't always be, partnering with people. So when I left Spalding, I was like, still very interested in that sport technology intersection. And so then when Javier said, hey, Ed, sorry that you left, but we're thinking of this, I said, yeah, okay, I'm fine. I like you guys. I know you're honest, you high integrity, good product. So I figured, yeah, let's do it. So I've just been continuing to go along with that, just because it's been working, we've been making progress. So I'm not retiring though, that no. I don't know what I would do.
Well, that's mine. Sort of like hit me in the back of the head. I had been doing the investment world for 20 some odd years. I had money in the bank. I was thinking, this is pretty good. I can just cruise like this and just manage my people. And then first of all, my business got bigger. I went from like 10 million to 100 million in like 2 years. And so that was
Can't retire on that. Yeah.
it's paying a lot more bills. But it was, then I got this stupid idea for the sports thing, and everything made sense. I could see into the future. I could see that everybody's going to put their social presences online. They're going to buy things online. That was all going to be under one umbrella. I didn't know it was going to be called Amazon, but I sort of figured that was going to be a conglomerate, and they were going to aggregate that. So I saw that, and I also saw that there was so much need, as a coach needed, and I as a player needed, that seemed that all could be satisfied by sitting at my computer. And I realized that it wouldn't be good if I just did. First of all, I thought there were only like 500 people who played the smaller sports. And I think I told you the shock to me was when I saw the census.
I opened it, yeah.
And it was like, bang, oh my God. And there's like 80% of us are playing those other sports. So I thought that was really the day that turned my whole world upside down, where all of a sudden I said, this is a big business. It's a massive community. It's a massive market. And I didn't realize how big it was until I included like the other things. It's one thing, sporting goods, but there are ticket sales, there's travel, there's so much behind it. The leagues, that's all lots and lots of money. It comes out to somewhere between 700 billion and 1.3 trillion, someplace in that range. And that's just freaking unbelievable. And that's just the United States.
Yeah.
What's interesting about the hype thing is that's all overseas.
Yeah.
And
we do have to get a stronger presence in the U.S. They're stronger now than they used to be, believe that, but they need to continue focusing on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's I'm glad we're part of that new crowd, because this is a big market, and it's just as fragmented as any place else. And it's just different because over there, they youth sports is run totally different. It's not run out of the schools; it's run out of the leagues and teams and
federations and everything, right?
Yeah. So that's a totally different world. And so we're learning more and more about that. But what's happened on UB Sports is that 80% of the people who are on UB Sports right now are from overseas, just by accident, because those sports are all international. And
yeah, but it's also where 96% of the population is, or not, so
yeah,
that's good.
yeah. So I better go chase those guys.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. And so that's really cool. Are you comfortable with being on our advisory board?
Yeah, if you could.
It's
Yeah,
basically
the short answer is yes.
Yeah.
No, the short answer is yes. I would just want to know more about what your expectations would be on it, because I don't want to oversell myself.
Like what we're doing right now, really,
Okay.
and probably less frequently.
Yeah. Well, no, then absolutely, Greg. Yeah, yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's exciting.
No, I think it would be. I think it would be. For me, it's just like I did with NBN. It's the chemistry. It's the sense I have from an integrity perspective. I like working with people I respect and I can trust and so forth. And even though you build that over time, but still, I mean, it's because I try to limit who I partner with or work with, and so. But I think you guys are doing it right, and I like what you're doing, and I like your vision. So yeah.
Thank you. That's big from you. I mean, you're probably better than 99% of the other people out there what needs to happen to make things work. So that's great. Thank you. What did you do for Spalding? You're the GM for the U.S. and Spalding?
For global, yeah, I ran the business globally. Yeah, so I had a president international reporting into me, running everything that was ex-US, and then I had a head of US reporting into me, and then the sourcing and just some other things, and the innovation group that I started later towards the end. But yeah,
that's really cool. So will Spalding dropship? Like if I sell a Spalding basketball, will I be able to sell to an individual out in New York City or upstate and have them delivered right from the Spalding warehouse? Or do we still need to buy a pallet and get that delivered and then split it up?
Well, we do have direct to consumer. So if you sell it, if we sell it to them,
we sell it. Like if I have it on our UB Sports site and someone buys the basketball, how does that happen?
Well, I think probably what they would recommend, because we were developing that when I was leaving, I think probably what they would suggest is place the order through their online, maybe put a storefront, so you can have your storefront, but it's processed through Spalding online, and it gets shipped right to the home.
Yeah, that's fine with me as long as we keep that spread between wholesale and retail. What I don't want to do is become an affiliate, because we can do that every day of the week. And if you do that, you're getting 5 or 10% of the sales, especially with balls. Forget about balls. Balls, you never make money on balls. But when I had my sporting goods store back in 2005 to 2009, what we found was that we can buy tennis balls cheaper at Costco than I could directly from Wilson. Even I bought like 100 cases.
Well, yeah, and because depending on were you going to a distributor to get Wilson's balls?
Directly to Wilson. We have a direct to Wilson account. So that's exactly what I said. I said, wait a minute. And it was cheaper to buy from Costco. And I was doing that. I was buying from Costco instead of Wilson.
Now, we didn't have, because we were just starting up our direct-to-consumer piece. So we were looking at building up that infrastructure, like everybody. We had the old infrastructure, right? We had the new infrastructure. So we were building that up. So it was mostly us to the consumer or through a distributor. Like it wasn't what the drop ship from a third party to us drop, and we drop. But that's all just setting up the language, connecting it.
Right.
So I don't know if they would do it or not. It depends probably on the volume you would be able to represent to them.
Right. Well, that'd be a lot easier a year from now.
Yeah.
And, I don't mind going through distributors. I just don't want to lose that much of a margin, Because,
no, and that's right. But I will tell you, we sell to the distributors. The distributors buy the product from us at a cost that allows them to be relatively competitive with retail.
Sure. Yeah.
Otherwise, so, and they do take a crazy markup, some of them. But if you wanted to drop ship, you know, I would, when you're ready, let me know, and I can put you in touch with the right people.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're a good company. They work with people as they can. The thing that would probably come into it more than anything is the shipping. You're shipping one ball or something.
Yeah, of course. It's prohibitive. But
Yeah,
even that's dropped down in price. I mean, I just delivered something to somebody and it was $7.
we've gotten it down. Yeah, we were at first because that's what everybody does. They all think that online is so cheap and there's so much margin. Well, not until you fix all the little kinks in it.
Yeah.
We had, you know, we were selling balls for say $50, $45, and there was a $15, $16 shipping charge, you know, included.
Exactly.
But we've gotten that down. When I left, we got it down to I think single digit, right around $10.
Yeah.
But then at a certain level, it's free, of course. But yeah, one ball. So, but yeah, just let me know when you're ready.
Great. Thank you.
We can find out at least for sure.
It's a fun business. You know, the sporting goods business, you're right. The margin, the dealer network that they're expected to sell through is 100% markup usually. And you can make, if you're in a good place and you market yourself well as a dealer, you can make good money. But it's challenging with balls. And but everything else just makes a lot of sense to do that kind of stuff. And when we started doing institutional business, it was a whole different ballgame because we could then, you know, we're talking about 100 balls, 200 balls, 500 balls. So it became a lot better, a lot more easy for us to sell from Spalding or Wilson or somebody and have them deliver 500 balls to UCLA.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot easier to do that. And because we didn't have a warehouse, we were kicking ass on price. We could beat everybody else in prices. And because they were just drop shipping and all we had to pay is the freight. And even that disappeared after a certain size.
Right.
So we would be getting the bid books on January 1st and we'd be winning like everything.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So I think that business 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I'm going to circle back with the institutional business because it makes so much sense. And more so time-wise during the calendar year, you've got the schools giving the bid books on January 1st and making the orders on July 1st. So the front half of the year is all that. And then the second half of the year usually is the kids playing and then Christmas comes.
Yeah.
So they're buying all this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that was something, yeah, because we used to have, well, we still do, the associations, the school associations
sure.
around the globe, the sponsorships and all, and those rarely paid off for us simply because, one, they don't mandate the schools within the association have to take the ball,
right.
The sponsorship, but secondly, it's because, you know, they agree to something. Part of the agreement is usually, you know, a certain amount of balls, but then you ship them out to all the individual high schools.
Right.
So we got out of that business, except for basketball, but because we used to do it for volleyball and softball and all that, and those just did not pay for us.
Yeah, and that is like that depends on like the state association or the national association what volleyball they're going to use, and
Right.
you know recently it's been either Molten or Mikasa. So
Yeah.
even if you made a great ball, it just didn't make it, you know, and that's the weirdest.
Yeah, it was usually driven by price, which Spalding doesn't typically. We don't get into those bids, but
Right.
you know, usually driven by price, or it's just for whatever reason. But the association office couldn't mandate it.
Right.
It was hard for us to get our projected returns, you know. But
yeah, it's a challenge.
So
that's a tough.
it is.
Tough
It
one.
is.
Yeah.
You know. Well, that's why I think that the dealing direct with consumers. I know it's different than students, but it's just we control it a little bit more. Before the retailers were the gatekeepers, they controlled the messaging and everything. You know, we were just too far removed. The direct to consumer is why it's so popular. You're in charge, right?
Right.
You've got that communication. You can make sure your message is what you want it to be. So yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. When I announced to the world that you're on our advisory board, there's board of directors, advisory board, and then the sports advisory board, and that's really all the Olympic athletes. So the
Yeah.
advisory board are our business consultants. That's where our geniuses all fit in. And so,
I don't know if I should be in there then.
well, I don't know. You don't fit in place else. So, but actually, I mean, that's where I would want to start you anyway. And I just think it makes a lot of sense for you to be, on that level. And but I'd like to announce it also, say like, you're on the board, and we're looking
Sure.
forward to things happening there. And
Yeah.
do I say you're with NBN, or what do I say?
You can say NBN instead of not NBN 23, but NBN, because that's the parent umbrella.
Okay, I will. All right, cool. I love these little announcements. We haven't done anything as far as PR yet, and now winning this thing on Friday, that's worth PR. That's big.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to put something out on it too. As you know, on Friday I was pulled away, so I'm just playing a little bit of catch up. But I'm going to, I think I can find. I want to just tag that LinkedIn, if I can go back and find it, the LinkedIn announcement where they announced all you guys. Yeah, I want to tag that.
That's cool. That's really fun.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I think I'm good to go right now. I'll send you out some stuff. I'll send you out the intro letter. I'll send you out, that'll have documents in it and the links. And as well, I'll do a PR report. Now, when you do PR, where do you do it through? Are you using?
We usually do it out of Valencia, so Spain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's where it's usually done, because we were incorporated 16. So I think they're a much more known entity in Spain and Europe than here. So yeah.
That's cool. So yeah, we're thinking that there's a company called PR Newswire. They do a lot of that kind of stuff. There's another one that I heard of just recently that seems like they have a broader reach. And so one of those guys is where we're going to use. And, now it's becoming important. Now, I'm feeling that we have such great momentum right now. I want to make sure that people know about it and can find it when they're, looking up UB Sports.
Yeah. And if you get one of the main ones, and all the other ones pick up on it anyways, usually. Yeah.
Right.
So
okay, that's cool. If you have any other questions, you have my phone number.
Yeah.
And text, call, whatever you want to do. I'll do the same when I have questions. But otherwise, you'll get basically two emails a week, and one's going to be announcing the next week's meeting. Although everybody knows it's 11 o'clock on Monday, but also then a recap of what's going on.
Okay, so that's 11 Eastern. Yep. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Very good.
Great. Thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. It was nice talking to you again. I'll talk to you soon.
Later.
All right. Bye-bye.